What if you were told that the truest path to liberation is the voluntary incineration of everything you call I? The great mystic Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi spoke of such a knowledge, calling it a burning fire. But this is not a fire that scorches skin and flesh. Its flame is far deeper and more devastating. This fire targets the very story you have told yourself about yourself, your entire life, burning it to ashes. It is a purifying flame that consumes the ghostly illusion of separation to reveal the pure, indivisible gold of a single truth. What is this knowledge that feels like an irreversible end, yet ultimately brings with it the promise of the truest homecoming? When the identity you have built, piece by piece, is reduced to a pile of ash, what is left of you? This is not a fire of punishment. It is the sacred, roaring fire of liberation. So let us begin a journey into the heart of this mysterious flame and ask, what exactly does this fire burn? And why would any sane soul consciously and voluntarily step into its searing embrace? Every morning when you awaken, before you are even aware of it, you begin a complex and unconscious process, the reconstruction of the story of I. This is a narrative woven from the threads of past memories, future aspirations, hidden fears, successes, failures, and your social roles. I am a doctor, I am a mother, I am a success, or I am a failure. You carry this constructed I like a precious and fragile porcelain vase, living in a constant, exhausting fear that the slightest blow might strike it, crack it, and shatter it. But the masters of the spiritual path say with certainty that this self, this fragile character, is not your true essence. It is merely a borrowed garment you have worn and grown accustomed to. This ceaseless, anxious maintenance is the primary source of all your suffering. The fear of not being enough, the fear of not being seen, the fear of rejection, and the profound spiritual loneliness of a self that perceives itself as separate from the entire cosmos. This deep, painful chasm between you and everything else is an illusion woven by the mind to feel a sense of control and security. The burning fire of knowledge arrives with an infinite and astonishing mercy for this very reason, to consume this very illusion of a separate, limited, and suffering self. The mystics had a name for this process. Mutu qabla an tamutu. Die before you die. For it is only when this small, fearful self is allowed to die in this sacred fire that the life you could never have imagined is freed to begin for the first time. The invitation to die before you die is perhaps, at first glance, the most terrifying and paradoxical invitation in the entire history of mysticism. It points to a voluntary death, not the death of the mortal body, but the death of the ego's dominion and the identity to which we cling. The Sufis have described this transformative process with two key and complementary concepts, Fana and Baqa. Fana means the dissolution and annihilation of the false self, or the ego. This is the moment when your personal identity, with all its titles, memories, and attachments, melts like an ice sculpture you have polished for a lifetime, dissolving before the sun of truth and rejoining the ocean. In this melting, there is no loss, only a return to a boundless expanse whose vastness the frozen, limited form could never comprehend. Because what follows Fana is not nothingness, but always Baqa, to subsist and live on in the consciousness of God. After the false, separate self is annihilated, you are returned to the world, but this time not as an individual imprisoned in your own mind, but as a witness reborn in the constant awareness of the divine presence. The glorious paradox is this: you lose the self you thought you were for a lifetime, only to find the true self you have always been, but remained unaware of. To understand the nature of this fire, you must turn away from the endless chatter of the analytical mind and incline toward the silent, intuitive wisdom of the heart. The mind is an instrument of separation. It analyzes, names, and imprisons everything in the cage of concepts. But the heart possesses a direct, unmediated knowledge that can never be obtained from books or logical arguments. The Sufis call this experiential and direct knowing, dhawq, or tasting. You can read 1,000 books and poems about love, but until you have fallen in love yourself and your heart has begun to race, you will not know its sweetness and passion. True knowledge is of this same nature. It is not a concept to be learned, but a reality to be unveiled. Therefore, the primary work of the seeker on the spiritual path is not to create this divine light, for the light is always present. Their task is the tireless polishing of the heart's mirror, clearing it of the dust of egoism, prejudices, and fears, so that it can reflect the eternal light of truth clearly and without distortion. The mind builds the high prison walls of I and you, but the path of the heart leads one beyond the illusion of being a separate drop and guides them to the fiery, unified, and living center of the ocean itself. So what is this fire that burns away lies and reveals the truth? This fire is nothing other than the stunning and liberating truth of oneness, what the school of Ibn Arabi and other mystics called Wahdat al Wujud, or the oneness of being. This is the understanding and realization that in the entire cosmos there is only one indivisible reality, one single presence, and one absolute consciousness that manifests itself in countless different forms and guises. To better understand, think of the ocean and its countless waves. A wave rises, takes on a unique form for a brief moment, and then returns to the embrace of the ocean. You can point to it and say, that is a wave. But is that wave, even for a single moment, separate from the ocean? Is its existence anything other than the ocean itself in motion? Number. If that wave could truly see and understand, it would whisper with awestruck and humble reverence, I am the ocean. This realization is not the wave's defeat, but its ultimate victory. This is why this knowledge is a burning fire. Because the illusion of being a separate and mortal wave cannot withstand the immense truth of being the ocean. The limited ego is consumed by a truth infinitely greater than itself. This is the annihilation of the false self, which is always followed by subsistence in the consciousness of truth. This way of seeing is not a simple intellectual shift, but an irreversible and fundamental transformation in perception itself. A symbolic story is told of a seeker who, after a profound spiritual opening, went to the market to buy a pair of shoes. He chose the shoes like anyone else, but when he went to pay for them, the words became locked in his mouth. He could no longer say, "These are mine." In that stunning moment, he no longer saw leather and stitching. He witnessed the entire interwoven web of existence within those shoes. The animal, the sun that grew the plant, the grass that fed the animal, the hands of the artisan, the mind of the designer, and the joys and sorrows of all the people who played a part in their creation. He saw that each and every one was held in existence by a single power. For him, a separate owner no longer existed. Rather, a single, indivisible ownership reigned over all of existence. A wise judge who was present perceived his wisdom and said that this man does not see with the limited eyes of commerce, but beholds with the eyes of pure intuition. His perception had been forever altered. He was a witness to the one single truth breathing in all things, from the largest galaxies to the smallest particles. For him, the question, "Whose shoes are these?" was as meaningless as asking a wave in the ocean, "Whose water is this?" This soul-shaking and foundation-shattering knowledge has often been described throughout history as a guarded and hidden secret. But this secrecy was not to create an exclusive, elitist circle. It was, in itself, an act born of profound mercy. This knowledge is a fire. You would never hand a blazing flame to a child who does not know how to hold it. This act is not one of secrecy, but of kindness and compassion. Unveiling this ultimate truth before an individual is spiritually ready and mature is not a grace. It is a great cruelty. The ego, to preserve its survival and its sense of separation, will fight savagely and to the death. The premature unveiling of this truth can psychologically crush an individual, leading them into an abyss of madness or nihilism. For this reason, the mystic's path is always one of slow, patient polishing of the heart's mirror. This gradual process increases the seeker's spiritual capacity so that when the truth is revealed like the sun, it does not blind and shatter the beholder, but illuminates and enlightens them from within. And in the end, after the fire has completed its work and burned away all the false stories, what remains? Not a cold emptiness, not a meaningless void, nor nothingness. What remains is everything, seen for the first time as it truly is, beautiful, whole, and sacred. The person you are does not disappear. Only the painful illusion of your separation from the whole of existence dissolves. You still walk in this world, speak, work, and love, but your inner knowing is forever transformed. This spiritual journey does not end by finding something new and external, but by realizing that the seeker, the path, and the beloved were never separate from one another. In this new reality, you witness divinity not only on the prayer mat, but in the face of a stranger, in the dance of a leaf in the wind, and in the deep silence between two breaths. Fear no longer has power over you, because the small self that always felt threatened and feared annihilation has dissolved into the greater reality. The final paradox is this: by losing your small self, you become your truer self, a self that is vast, boundless, and a perfect mirror for reflecting the truth. You let go of the story of being a separate wave and awaken to the staggering and liberating reality that you have been and always are from eternity to eternity, the entire ocean. As Ibn Arabi wrote, the cosmos is a mirror, and you are the eye of that mirror, but you are also the pupil of that eye which sees. So, is this fire an end? Or is it, at long last, a glorious return home? If something in you stirred while listening, if the fire felt less like destruction and more like remembrance, then stay close to this path. Subscribe to Heart's Whisper, where we continue these quiet journeys into the heart of reality, not to learn more, but to remember what you have always been.